Welcome to part 3 of the 44 Auto Mag saga, as it is a continuing story, but I can't promise it will be the last, but I don't promise there'll be any more coming anytime real soon. But in parts 1 and 2, I gave an initial look at the gun, and I talked about its history. Then I went out and put a few rounds through it. Well, for part 3, I wanted to take you along on a deeper journey into the process, mainly because many of you requested more detail. Many of the viewer comments on the previous video asked about the ammunition making process, wanted to know more about the load data, and so forth. So I'm going to talk about that here. I'm going to show the ammunition making process. I apologize if that bores some folks, but I know other folks will be interested in seeing it. Another pretty astute viewer commented that the feeding issues I was having in the last video were likely my own fault for resting the barrel on my rifle rest, which was retarding the reciprocating action of the upper receiver, which is a necessary part of the function of this pistol. So I immediately realized he was absolutely right as soon as I read that, so thank you for making that comment. Just goes to prove that I can learn stuff by reading the comments on the video, and I do read them. In this video, I'm going to do only handheld shooting, so we're going to eliminate that variable. And finally, I wanted to do a fairly thorough test of the gun and the ammo, so I put a couple of groups through the chronograph, and in all, I fired about 50 rounds. One of the two magazines still has an annoying problem, and has to do with the follower and the catch for the slide stop and all that. And I won't get into the gory details, but suffice it to say that I had to break out some tools and disassemble part of the pistol just to get the magazine out. So I set that one aside and was forced to use one magazine. But mostly I just wanted to pick up the pace a little bit in this video, do a little bit more shooting, let you guys get a good look, hopefully, from a few different perspectives at this beautiful historic gun in action. The primers are CCI number 350s. They are large Magnum pistol primers. I know that some of you watching this video are just interested in the gun. Some of you just like to see things go bang, which is cool. But also I know some of you are going to be interested, at least just academically, in the load data and the reloading process to build this ammunition. So I'll take you along for the ride there too. I'll share the load data, which I was able to find online. Several of you were kind enough to share load data with me on my first video. But I also found some online, and I felt a little more comfortable using what I found online, so that's the way I'm going to go. Now Hodgdon says for their H110 powder for 44 Auto Mag, a load somewhere between 19.0 and 21.0 grains. Right now I am measuring my powder throw at 19.1 to 19.2. So I'm going to load 25 like that. And then I'm going to raise it, I think, to 19.5 and load 25 like that. Baby steps. We don't want to go too hot too quick. I have it on good authority that the Auto Mag likes the lightest load that will reliably cycle its action. So the dies that I'm using are RCBS. It's a carbide sizer die. It's not really a bell. Talk about that maybe in a bit. A little different. I like the way this RCBS flare die works. Creates like a little shelf. And then, of course, we have our bullet cedar and crimp die. The bullets I'm using are Magtech. The brass is brand new Starline brass. And of course the powder is, as I said, H110. I've got it in a little thrower here because I don't have the full setup for the Dillon, nor do I really need it for something this small of quantity. So let's get started. Just checking things out, make sure our primers are getting seated well. Everything looks good. And we've got our little shelf, which is pretty neat the way this works. Rather than a typical flare or bell, it creates a little shelf that the bullet sort of snaps right into, which I like. And my couple of tests worked out really good. All right, so now I'm going to go charge it over here. Back in here it goes. And that bullet, like I say, just sort of snaps right in there. It's going to be a slow process, but that's okay. Let's make sure he is at overall length. Hodgdon calls for 1.6. We are at 1.606. I was lighter than that earlier, so I'd rather be much closer to 1.6 even. I may make an adjustment there. I was at 1601. Now I'm at 1606, but part of that may be the primer, although the primer does feel like it is recessed in the pocket. We'll see. Do a few more. Okay, I've already tried a few rounds, one magazine worth, only about 5 rounds, through the 44 Auto Mag with this ammo. Let's give it a try again. 5 more rounds. I found that of the 2 magazines I have, one has really got a problem. I've identified what the problem is, and it's basically, I gotta bench it. So I'm down to 1 magazine, and I'm probably only gonna load, I don't know, I might try full load again, but right now I've just got 5 rounds in the magazine. I'm only about 7 or 10 yards from my target, and just gonna take a few shots, and then we're gonna do some chrono work. Let's just see how this ammo does. Tell you right now, she makes some noise. And she's got some thump to her. All right. Well, there was 5 for 5. That makes me 10 for 10. So the ammo is shooting good. It's making, except for maybe a couple flyers that are only a couple inches off center, it's making a heck of a group. It's functioning well. Feels good. Let's see if I can get the sunlight to cooperate with my chronograph. See what kind of energy we're pushing out of this thing. Okay, let's chrono some rounds. I got 5 more loaded in my magazine. Got the chrono turned on. I'm about 12 feet back from the chrono. I also ran some 9mm loads that I'm very familiar with over the chrono first, just to calibrate or make sure that it was calibrated and it is reading good numbers. So whatever it tells us ought to be really close to the truth. Let's see what this thing does. For some reason, second time that's happened, doesn't want to feed that last round, but it feeds it fine once I run the bolt. Okay. Looking pretty consistent so far. All right, let's take a quick look at those numbers. All right, let's take a look at the 1476, 1474, 1476, 1481. The high, 1489. The low, 1474. And the average, 1479. So pretty consistent, very consistent, and kind of where I like it. It's kind of a sweet spot. So I was hoping maybe somewhere right in the 1500 range. That's close. I might tweak the load a little bit, but what I'm going to probably do is go try the other load that I loaded up, see how it measures. Okay, so I've had, well, not a setback, but a little bit of a complication in terms of the loading of the ammunition. You can see those 2 rounds right there. You can see the one on the left looks a little squished and flat, and the one on the right is actually a little squished but round. And they are supposed to look like this one. But unfortunately, the RCBS seating die comes with 2 cups, as most do, one for round nose and one for flat, like semi-wad cutters. This type of bullet, and again, let me show you the good one, what it's supposed to look like. This type of bullet is a flat point, but it also needs to have some support on the sides and so on. Well, that RCBS die just didn't quite give it what it needed, and so it squished them. As you can see, most of the ones I did were the round, and it squished them, and then when I tried the flat, it just squished them differently. So what that did was, number one, I don't really care about how it's deforming the bullet, but what that does is it plays havoc with overall length, because that amount of squish is not predictable or consistent, and so your overall length is all over the place. So not being happy with that, I went back to the Hornady resizing die and took a, or not resizing, I went back to the Hornady bullet seating die and took a look at it, and it has a much better cup for this type of bullet. So I tried a couple, or one test, and it looked like it was going to be much more successful. It gave me the overall length exactly how I wanted. So I'm going to go back to the Hornady die, which quite honestly is a better die, better quality die anyway. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to load, I think 38. I had 38 loose primers, just, you know, in my pocket with change and car keys. And so I'm going to load those 38 with 19.6 heavy, maybe 19.7 grains of Hodgdon H110, for those of you playing along at home, which is still on the light half of the recommended spread. They only give you a 2-grain spread. They want you to go either from 19 to 21. So it's kind of a tight tolerance or variation. So I started out right at 19, and now I'm going to go up to about 19.6, 19.7, and see how the pistol operates with that. I don't want to go too hot too quick. And then I picked up a couple hundred of these guys. Let me see, let me get the focus. Picked up a couple hundred of Barry's plated bullets that I'm going to try next. And these won't be so easily manipulated by the seating die. They should be very, very consistent. So I may load up some of these so that next time I do get this gun out to the range, we can really try a few different things and see how it runs. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Some of you guys asked me to bring you along for the ride, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to load up some more ammo, and then, I don't know, we'll get the gun back out. We'll see what it looks like. All right, let's move over now to this load. This is the one that gave me a little bit of trouble with the bullet seating. You know, that lead tip was sort of getting smushed and rounded and all that kind of stuff. So I have a couple of variations of this load. But let's give it a try. See what it measures. Hold on, let me move this barrel because I'd be really mad one of my brass cases goes down in that barrel. This brass is not easy to come by. Duplicate. How's that for consistency, boys and girls? Not quite in battery. And that's one of the things I was worried about with this load and the problems I was having. Let's see what happens here. Okay. All right. Okay. That also looked like a pretty consistent batch. Let's review. 1484, 81, 86, 86 again, high 86, low 81. That is a pretty consistent load, average of 1484. So other than having some bullet seating issues, which I'm pretty positive I have resolved with the change of dies, very consistent stuff. Good stuff indeed. Of course, real men shoot the 44 auto mag one-handed. Oh, double feed. Okay, I probably limp wristed it a little bit to cause that double feed. Okay, I chronoed this bunch with the lead tip, but I didn't record any target hits. So let's try some target hits on that one. Still about 10 yards back from my target. I have not pasted any of my previous holes, so they're all there. She does thump. Sounds like somebody shooting a rifle over here. Okay. They all fed that time. That was 6 rounds. They're shooting good. Accurate as heck. Even in my hands. It's a whole lot of fun. I think I'm going to probably shoot a little bit more. See if we can't maybe give you a nice close look at this beautiful, beautiful handgun. Okay guys, I think that's going to wrap it up today with the 44 Auto Mag. I don't want to have too much fun all at one time. I'm going to save a little bit of fun for later. I'll tell you what, she is a thumper, but it is a whole lot of fun to shoot. Has a whole different feel to it than just about everything I've shot before. Part of that is just the feel of the bolt. Part of that is obviously the incredible pressure of this cartridge and putting this huge chunk of lead down range at such high speed. Part of it is just enjoying the feel of beautifully engineered history right here in my hand. So I'm going to wrap it up with 6 last rounds and call it a day. Thanks for watching the saga. We'll see this again eventually. Sweet.